When I was 10 or 11, my dad had a real estate company, and one day somebody walked in I'll never forget in a million years. Gonna call him C Dub, but he was obviously a pimp, and he was in my dad's office, and I didn't know what in the world was going on, and neither did my dad. So he walks up and he asked to get a rental application form. Well, we gave him one, of course. I mean, even back then, we weren't going to deny anybody based on an appearance. But what was interesting is he immediately started being honest up front, right off the top. He explained that everybody knows who he is and what he does. But what he was looking for was a place to escape his place of business. He ran a brothel. He wanted to get away from the brothel, so he wanted a place that was 4 or 5 blocks down the road, just far enough so that these women couldn't just nag him 24/7 about whatever. So he ended up getting a place. So the first of the month, this guy would come in like clockwork and pay his rent. But when you're 11 years old and you're just now understanding what a pimp is and what it is that he does, let's just say I was beyond fascinated. Now let's set this up right. When we say pimp, a lot of times in our head we've got an image of, you know, some guy, flashy clothes, maybe a big hat. He's got the jewelry. He's got a super nice car. The women are just kind of hanging off of him. It's that type of scene. But listen, this was not like that. This was down south, deep south, dirty pimping. And this is what it looked like. C Dub was a black guy. He was probably in his late 50s, early 60s, dressed fairly well. I remember he always wore loafers with shorts, no socks, and generally like a polo shirt. But the women that were with him, whoo, these weren't exactly your Hollywood esque type prostitutes. These women, they were all white. They were all at least 300 pounds. And another requirement, you had to have some sort of an infection, maybe an excess mosquito bites, some kind of bed bug problem. You had to have some kind of bump or rash all over your body. Now, when he would show up, he did have a Cadillac, and it was a nice Cadillac. It was a little older, but it was one of those like from the early 80s, you know, big body, probably got like 12 miles to the gallon. But when he would pull up, he would always have like 4 or 5 of those women that I just described, like all over him. They would always like hang out in the car. They never came in. But it was so interesting to me, number one, that these women could be coerced by this guy in order to do that which it is that they do. And the other thing, too, I was just coming into the understanding of what sex actually is. And the fact that these women would allow this man to direct them how they should be directed in order to earn money, it just blew my mind. I had no idea, no conception, no perspective. But interestingly enough, my dad, who was a Christian man, and I don't mean Christian in the sense like, oh, he's a good Christian person. I mean, he was literally a follower of Christ. He wanted me to understand the world and how it worked. And so he took me over there, not to the place where C Dub rented from my dad, but from the actual, we'll call it place of business, but really it's a whorehouse, a brothel, uh, to where C Dub's women were. And a lot of times, when we talk about pimps, again, we have this image of what pimping is. And a lot of times these images are from movies or maybe a story we've read. And we think about a prostitute like standing on a corner in like scantily clad clothing, and you're coming up on the intersection and you stop. And she's gonna ooh la la over there, and you've got to, deny her, or I guess if you don't want to deny her, you can accept her into your car. And then maybe later when her shift is done, the pimp comes by in his car, picks her up, they go get food and go home. That's the image that we have. But this wasn't exactly like that. Here's how his setup worked. He got a house literally right outside of our city limits. At the time, this was important because I think that he could actually avoid some kind of a trafficking charge if he was outside the city limits. Don't quote me on that. It's been like 30, almost 40 years ago. I'm not sure, but there was significance to the fact that he was right outside of our city limits. Now, what me and my dad did was there was an overpass with a bridge. So one night, my dad took me and we parked under the bridge and we watched this operation unfold. And here's how it worked. His house was set up on a corner. He would have his girls, his employees, they would sunbathe in lawn chairs in the front. So when you would ride by, you would see, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 women, maybe in bikinis. And if not in bikinis, they would have at least like short shorts, like a crop top. And again, these weren't necessarily women that you'd want to see in a bikini or a crop top, but that's what they were wearing because that's what they were selling. So this is how it would work. We would watch these carloads of migrant workers, like a van would pull up, 5 or 6, 7 or 8, maybe even close to 10 sometimes would get out at one time. What they would do is it was almost like a la carte. They would just pick the girl that they wanted, and she would be there like a menu. Like you could just walk up to her and, she's the one. They would choose her, they'd go inside, conduct their business, and then they'd come back out and go on about their way. This worked really well for a long time. And honestly, I think that C Dub was kind of connected uh, with law enforcement at the time because there was just so many times where he should have gotten caught but didn't. And it was really interesting to see how this sex work played out. But over the years, when I've looked back and reflected on that first experience that I had, it still blows my mind how we as people can believe in ourselves so little that we'll take something so valuable as ourselves, our most intimate version of ourselves, especially when we're talking about something like sexual intercourse. And we're willing to not only give it away, but we give someone else the power to give it away. And listen, I know one of the hooks is, hey, look, they're having sex anyway. So why not get paid for doing exactly what you're already doing? But as I've gotten older, I just really have started believing in the power of self esteem and really self improvement, self development, and how if we'll only take the time to invest in ourselves and learn how to love ourselves, that a lot of these things that we see in the world around us, we're able to put them into perspective and understand that the human condition is absolutely horrible, but also the human condition can be absolutely wonderful at the same time. So I think moving forward, when I think about or reflect on the stories of my past and all the things that I've seen, kind of having a street life background, I just want to move forward and help myself to understand that life is so much bigger than me and how I see it. And there's people out there with a perspective that is completely different than mine. And I'm just trying to do my best to understand, number one. And number two, probably the worst thing to do is to pass judgment because there's been so many times where I should have received judgment and have received mercy instead. So please, the next time we're looking at somebody or a situation and we think it's absolutely disgusting or absurd, and it very well may be, just remember that on the other side of that situation is a human being just like me or you.